Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kodel Kol Shira, partnership with Breslov.org, and of course, Yeshiva Torah Shemin. I want to wish everyone first a good Chodesh. It's Chodesh Iyar now. We know the acronym Iyar, Ani Hashem Roifecha. And so that everyone that needs a refuah, Mitzvah Hashem, will receive the refuah this month, Ezrat Hashem. Okay, so we have a double parsha, Tazria-Metzora. They're very, very difficult parshas. We come from the whole idea of the Mishkan and the inauguration of the Mishkan and the Kabbanis, and now we come to a whole new idea. So let's try to understand it, and let's see what lessons we can take out from these two parshas, and how that they actually can pertain to our lives and what we can benefit by them. So here we go. Let's start. If we take a look at the Pasha, superficially, we might ask, what does this have to do with my spiritual life? Why does the eternal Torah dedicate so much space to what appears to be an ancient dermatological problem? The answer that Chazal gives us reveals it's an affliction known as tsaras. Why it's not a physical disease at all. It's a physical manifestation of a profound spiritual sickness. It's a malady of the soul that breaks out onto the skin. So there's something inside. There's something inside within the neshama. There's something inside that's wrong. And because of that, it manifests itself out onto the skin. You know, it says Adam. It says Adam. Why does the Torah use the word Adam? Why? To teach that a person is good. Adam is the highest level. Yehudim are called Adam. Only Yehudim are called Adam. The nations of the world are not called Adam. But yet we're called Adam. Even in this situation. So what happens? When a person suspects that they may have tsaras, who does he go to? They do not go to a doctor. They don't see a physician. The Torah specifically states and commands, "V'huva el hakoyen, el Aaron hakoyen, oy el achad mibonav hakohanim, come, bring your affliction, bring this tsaras, and it needs to be examined by the kohen." Why the kohen? Because a kohen represents chesed. He represents the connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the connection to the community. The afflicted person needs spiritual healing. It's not a physical ailment. So when people think it's a leprosy, it's not. This is something that we have no idea what it is. We don't have we're not in touch with this today. It needs to be seen by the kohen. Today we are going to explore the root of this affliction, the profound physiology behind it and its punishment, and the ultimate cure. Drawing upon timeless wisdom from the Medrash Tanchuma, we're going to look at the Medrash Rabbah, we're going to see something from the Holy Yalkut Shemaini, and of course we'll have a little piece from Rebbe Nachman mi Breslov. So what's the root of the affliction? The Alkut Shemaini and Medrash Tanchuma say, it comes from the speaking of gossip. The Medrash Tanchuma makes a brilliant linguistic observation. It asks, what is the meaning of the word Metzora? Metzora means person that has tzaras. The Medrash explains Metzora is an acronym. Listen to this. It's a contraction of 3 words. Motzi Shem Ra. Metzora. Motzi Shem Ra. The Metzora is a gossiper. He is one that speaks Lashon Hara. He is one that slanders, a cynical person. The one who looks at another human being and focuses only on their flaws, and then broadcasts those flaws to the world. The Alkut Shemaini says, he expands on this and lists 7 specific sins that cause tzaras, to strike a person. Evil speech, bloodshed, swearing in vain, being immoral, arrogance, and theft, and selfishness. But notice the company that Lashon Hara keeps. Gossip is listed right alongside Shvichas Damim. Wow, Shvichas Damim, bloodshed. And of course, immorality. Why? Furthermore, the Alkut Shemaini ties the beginning and the end of the list together. Arrogance and evil speech. Why does one speak poorly of others? Fundamentally, it stems from arrogance. The person is arrogant. To put another person down, I must subconsciously elevate myself. I step on their reputation to make myself feel taller. Let's consider the Torah's prescription for the Metzora. When the Kohen confirms the affliction, and he says, and the Kohen says to him, Badad Yoshev Mechutz Lamachana Maishavo. Okay, sir, you now are afflicted with the tzaras. You have to be in bidud. You have to be excommunicated outside. Badad Yeshev Mechutz Lamachna. You can't live amongst people. You have to leave civilization. Why this specific punishment for isolation? Why outside the camp? Chazal explain with the flawless moral logic. Lashon Hara destroys relationships. When Reuben speaks ill about Shimon to Levi, so what's he doing? He's driving a wedge in between him and Levi. What is he doing? It's terrible what he's doing. Therefore, the heavenly decree is a measure for measure. Mida keneged mida. You use your words to separate people one from another, then you must be separated from everybody. You sit alone outside the camp. You must feel the pain of the isolation you caused others. Amazing. This is not a punishment of vengeance. This is a punishment of reflection. The Metzora is sent into forced retreat to sit in silence and realize that a community cannot survive if its members use their breath to tear each other down. It's not good. So it's amazing. Why does he have to sit outside? You cause others to be separated. Now you have to be separated. It's a mamish, an act of mida keneged mida. Another idea. Medrash Rabbah. The Medrash Rabbah has an amazing story. Listen to this. How does one break this cycle? How does one break the cycle? He speaks Lashon Hara and he's this and that. How do you break it? What do you do? Listen to these words. There was a famous, incredible, powerful story brought in the Medrash Rabbah. There was once a peddler, a reichel, a traveling salesman who was going from town to town, walking through the village near Tzipori. As he walked through the marketplace, he would ring his bell and he would call out on the top of his lungs, and he would say it in Aramaic, Man ba'isam chai, man ba'isam chai. Who wants the elixir of life? Who wants the elixir of life? Naturally, there was a massive crowds that would gather around him. Who doesn't want the secret to long life and a good life? Sitting in the base medrash was one of the great Tanaim, Rav Yanai. Rav Yanai says he heard this commotion, looked outside the window, and he called to the peddler, Sak lahocha v'zavinli. Hey, I want this. Let me have this. The peddler looked at the rabbi and he said, Lav an tzorich le v'loi dechavstoch. But Rabbi Yanai insisted, you don't need it. You're a great rabbi. You don't need this. But Rabbi Yanai insisted. The peddler walked up the steps and entered the base medrash. And he stood before the great sage Rav Yanai. And the peddler reached into his bag and he pulled out Sefer Tehillim. And he opened and he started to read. Mi chavetz chayim, oyev yamin lirois toiv, nitzor l'shoincha meira, svasecha medaber mirma. Who is the person that wants life and wants to have good long days and to see good? Watch your mouth from speaking ra. Watch your mouth. And keep your mouth from saying lies. Speak good words. The Medrash tells us Rabbi Yanai was astonished. He paid the peddler. He gave him a kiss. And he said, Kol yamai koireya haposik hazeh. All my life I was reading this pasuk. V'lo hayisi yodeya heichin hu pshat. And I had no idea what the pshat was. Ad sheba roichel zeh v'hoidiyai. Until you came to me, you, the merchant, the salesman, came to me and told me. Let's think for a second. We must beg the question, what the great Rav Yanai was one of the greatest scholars of his generation. Are we really supposed to believe that he didn't know this famous pasuk that we all know? We say it in Tehillim. What did the peddler, what did this reichel teach him that he didn't already know? Listen to the answer. Rabbi Yanai knew the meaning of the word. He knew the philosophy behind the pasuk. He knew it was a beautiful spiritual idea. But the peddler taught him that keeping your tongue from evil is not just something as a limud, as philosophy. It's a samchayim. It's an elixir of life, a medicine, a daily commodity. And that he didn't realize. The peddler was teaching him, you have to wake up every morning and say, I am going to the market today. Today I'm going to the market. And I am going to actively purchase life by keeping my mouth shut. It requires effort. It requires a daily transaction. If you want a good life, a life of peace, a life free of spiritual leprosy of our time, and spiritual leprosy of our time are all different machlas that people have. That's what it is today. We don't have the same leprosy that they had then, but we have all different kind of things, sicknesses. There's no end. Those are all physical manifestations of a spiritual problem. The only reason we have a physical problem is because there's a spiritual problem underlying, causing the physical problem. Rabbi Yanai didn't understand that. As if your physical life depended on it, because your spiritual life absolutely does. So really saying the right thing and being careful and understanding what it means is so important. Let's discuss this a little further. When the Metzora finally repents, he does his tshuva, and his affliction heals, he must undergo a process of tahara, purification. And the Torah goes through the ritual. What is the ritual? The Kohen commands that 2 live, clean birds be brought, shnei b'nei yoina, along with a cedar wood, crimson yarn, and a hyssop branch. 1 bird is sacrificed over fresh spring water, and the other one is set free into an open field. The Medrash asks, why birds? Rashi brings this down. Of all the animals, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu command that birds should be used for the tahara of the Metzora, of the gossiper? Why was this? And the Medrash explains birds are constantly chirping. They chatter. And then the Rebbe Nachman says, Yavayu kalinan v'yechapru al kalinus. What does that mean? Let one voice come and take care of the problem for the other voice. Lamashal, this is what we're saying here. You spoke lashon hara. Take 1 bird, slaughter the bird. That should have been the person. To teach the person to curb his mouth. But the other bird goes free to show you still should use your mouth. How? You speak words of hisbodedus, speak to the Rebbe Nachman, words of tefillah. Give people advice if you can. Speak good words, kind words. It's all in the process of the purification of the Metzora. It's unbelievable. Then we have to ask, so what was this idea with the cedar wood and the hyssop branch? The cedar is the tallest, most imposing tree. It represents the arrogance and haughtiness that the Yalkut Shemaini told us is the root of speaking badly of others. To be cured, the Metzora must take the towering tree of his ego and bind it together with the hyssop, the lowest and the humblest of the bushes. He must bring the ego down to the earth. He must realize that he is no better than any other person he is slandering. But how does this actually achieve this humility? Is it easy to say to be humble and doesn't speak God and he shouldn't gossip? But human nature is critical. Our eyes naturally gravitate towards flaws in others. How do you reprogram our spiritual vision? How does one do that? So here we have to turn to Rebbe Nachman and the Torah Azamra, Reish Pei Beis. In Rebbe Nachman's magnum opus, Likutei Moharan, introduces one of the famous and fundamental teachings. Teaches that the only way to heal yourself and the only way to heal others is by Rebbe Nachman's fundamentally changing how you look at them. He writes that if a person is obligated to judge everybody favorably, we have to judge everybody. Done at kol adam lekav schus. Even if a person appears to be completely wicked, you must search and find the good point. It's called a nakuda tova. Find a little nakuda, a dot of good. Rebbe Nachman says you must search and dig until you find one silver or one of goodness where it's not wicked. A sliver, even a little sliver of goodness. And when you find the Nakuda Taiva and you focus on it, you literally tip the scales of their soul. You elevate them to the side of merit. In other words, we can help somebody by judging them favorably. It actually can cause them to return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the exact opposite of the Metzora. The Metzora is a person who scans his fellow human, being looking, and he's looking for the bad point. He searches for the flaw. He searches for weaknesses. He searches for failure. And then he finds it and he brings out, and he's Maitzi Shemra. Again, Maitzi Shemra is the acronym for Metzora. Rebbe Nachman goes on to explain that the human speech is not just sound. It is the breath he breathes and the breath of life into the nostrils. HaKadosh Baruch Hu breathes life into our nostrils. The pasuk says, Adam Arishon, created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Targum Onkelos says what? Lenefesh chaya. He becomes a ruach memale. HaKadosh Baruch Hu fills us with life. Our speech is the divine breath within us. When a person uses their breath to slander, they corrupt the very divine life force inside them. They pull the breath out of life into the realm of death and of impurity. You take life and put it into death and impurity. That is why the Metzora is considered spiritually akin to a dead person. He has taken the instrument of life, his speech, and weaponized it. Therefore, Rebbe Nachman teaches the ultimate cure for the Metzora is to practice Hazamra. The Metzora sits outside the camp alone, and he can reprogram his eyes. He must sit in isolation until he realizes that his job in this world is to be a critic, but not a critic to find fault, a critic to find good. Find gold in others. When the Kohen goes outside the camp to check the Metzora, which he has to do after 7 days, what is the Kohen doing? The Kohen's embodiment of a Azamra, the Kohen sees goodness in everybody. The Kohen looks at this outcast, this person covered in the physical manifestation of his own bitterness. And the Kohen searches for purity. The Kohen looks for the good. And through the love of the gaze of the Kohen, the way the Kohen's gazing, looking to find this, the Metzora is brought back to life. You see the way the Kohen searches to find the good in the person, brings him back to life, takes him from the side of death, takes him and brings him to the side of life. Then he can come back and be introduced into the community. My friends, we don't have physical tzaras today, like we said. And we do not have a Kohen who sends us outside of the camp when we say Lashon Hara. But the spiritual realities of Tazria-Metzora are as vibrant and terrifyingly real today as they were in the time of the desert, when we were in the Midbar. We live in a world where Lashon Hara is not just common, it's an industry. Social media, news, politics, and casual conversations are fueled by the Metzora's mentality, finding the flaw in other people and broadcasting it to the world. We see the isolation it causes. We see the division that it causes in communities. We see what happens in families. Rahman al-Islam, there are families that you can have brothers, that one brother doesn't speak to another brother. You can have families that a mother doesn't speak to the child doesn't speak to a mother. Chas v'shalom. Where does it come from? Lashon Hara. Tears people away. Communities. The walls between us are built with the bricks of careless words. And that's how we get isolated. This Shabbos, let us heal using the bell of our peddler that he was ringing in the marketplaces. We have an elixir right under our noses. It's the words of Man Boi Samchai. Who wants the elixir of life? Let us commit to binding the cedar of our ego with the hyssop of our humility. Let us commit to the Torah of Rebbe Nachman and stop searching for flaws in people and start searching for the Nekuda Tova in our spouses, in our children, with our neighbors, with our siblings, with everybody, and especially in ourselves. When we use the divine breath that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, Nishmas Chai, when he gives us the breath, and we use it to build up others, and we use it to sing the praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and to highlight their goodness and to speak about goodness, we bring the ultimate, that's the ultimate purification. We can then banish all the isolation. We can heal our communities, and we can bring ourselves and everyone around us back into the holy camp of peace, love, and life. I want to wish everyone a good Shabbos. So many things to learn from these parshas. So many things to learn. But the most thing is to learn, to look at people. And every yid that has an neshama, every yid has an neshama, which is a chelik elikami mal, inside them. And let us find the goodness inside the person. Shkoyach, everybody, kol tuv. A good chodesh, a gebenchte chodesh, ani Hashem reifecha. Let Hashem heal us. Of course, He'll heal us if we work on watching what we say. Good Shabbos.